I just get to pinch myself every day because I am the biggest Disney fan that I know.
Really?
Really, really.
First came the silence, followed by cancellations, and now a Publicist walkout. Multiple sources report that Rachel Zegler's Publicist has officially quit, leaving the starlet stranded amid one of the most chaotic PR crises in recent memory. Let's delve into the details. Tyler Kappa took that photo, but it's unclear why it's the one featured on IMDb.
Whether it comes to parks, the movies, Pixar, Disney Plus, all the Disney Channel shows, I've been obsessed my whole life.
You can't be serious.
I feel very, very blessed to be playing Snow White so much. Yeah.
I have a professional headshot that's frequently used on Deadline. There was no farewell statement, no polished transition, just a sudden disappearance. Insiders reveal that this wasn't merely a quiet exit. It marked the final straw in a strategy that had already crumbled under pressure. This isn't your typical Hollywood reshuffle. Publicists don't abandon clients mid-crisis, especially not rising stars with multiple films in the pipeline. However, Zegler's situation had reportedly become unmanageable.
Let's take a look. Tyler Kappa took that photo. Have no idea why it's the photo on IMDb. I have a professional headshot that is used on Deadline all the time.
Her image was still reeling from the fallout of the West Side Story drama, and the silence from her team only exacerbated the situation. There was no plan left, one source stated, and nobody wanted to be the face of a collapse. This collapse began long before the public even noticed. What was intended to be a sleek, quiet reset, no statements, no drama, just letting the noise die down, turned into a vacuum that swallowed Zegler's momentum whole.
Don't know why this is the one that they used, but yeah, she's cute. You know, let's just see the authenticity of this. I'm going to authenticate my IMDb page for you. Singer and songwriter, debatable. Raised in New Jersey by her American father and Colombian mother, which is a hilarious way to put that, but that's true.
With every no-show and missed opportunity to clarify or control the narrative, the whispers grew louder. People wanted answers, but instead, they received nothing, leading to panic behind the scenes. Having been one of 30,000 people who auditioned, Zegler was selected for a role that was supposed to elevate her career. Known primarily for her performance in West Side Story, she was once positioned as the face of Hollywood's next wave.
Having been one of 30,000 people who auditioned, she was selected to play the role of Maria. That's true as well. Known for, I don't think I'm known for anything, but known for West Side Story.
However, by the time her publicist reportedly exited, the damage was already done. Studios were pulling invites, and industry allies were going silent. Zegler, once a rising star, had become a cautionary tale, facing the storm with no one left to manage it, no spokesperson, no lifeline, just a crumbling brand and a frozen smile. The unraveling didn't happen overnight. It was a slow-motion collapse, one awkward silence at a time.
Then, for some reason, they decided to send me my star meter, which means pretty much approaching a low point in my career.
After the West Side Story drama erupted, most celebrities would have taken the obvious route: release a carefully worded statement, sit for a soft focus interview, or post a cryptic but hopeful Instagram caption. But Zegler's team did the opposite. No posts, no red carpets, no damage control, just a total media blackout. This wasn't a misstep, it was the plan. Sources now claim that the decision to go silent was pitched as a low-exposure recovery strategy. The logic was to ride out the noise, let the scandal fatigue set in, and re-emerge when the storm had passed.
Pretty interesting that they decided to send me my star meter, and it didn't do anything to my self-esteem. Whatever.
But the problem was that the storm didn't pass, it metastasized. In the absence of clarity, the internet filled the void with speculation, rumors, and viral threads. The narrative slipped out of her control, and her silence shifted from mysterious to damning. Insiders revealed that the strategy wasn't unanimously agreed upon. Tensions brewed behind the scenes, with one faction pushing for immediate press outreach and proactive interviews, while another believed that any public statement would only worsen the situation. The result? Paralysis.
But it's also really important to me that I share with you not only the really good, exciting moments, but also like the little blips where I just don't feel great.
It didn't take long for even casual observers to notice the awkward gaps. Where was Rachel at that industry event she had RSVP'd to months ago? Why hadn't she commented on projects she was still attached to? Why were her co-stars acting as if she didn't exist? The quiet wasn't calming anyone, it was setting off alarms. The longer the silence dragged on, the more the entire PR plan appeared less like a strategy and more like a void. A void her publicist was initially blamed for until they were gone.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
Hold on.
All right.
Zegler's camp was left to confront the fallout of a plan that didn't just fail. It may have destroyed the very thing it was meant to protect. The turning point wasn't a dramatic press conference or a leaked phone call. It was a subtle moment that most people missed. Insiders say it occurred during an exclusive press junket for a streaming film in which Zegler was involved. She was slated to appear, scheduled for interviews, and had her talking points reviewed weeks in advance. But when the cameras rolled, she was nowhere to be found. No explanation, no last-minute illness, no reshuffle, just a glaring absence, with journalists quietly instructed to skip her section.
This clip is already 9 minutes long on my phone, and I bet you learned nothing.
According to a PR source, this move wasn't accidental. She was pulled, and not by the studio, meaning it came from her team. It was a final attempt to limit exposure, but instead it sparked whispers. Was she being protected or hidden? Around that time, insiders say everything snapped. The studio was furious, the cast was left scrambling, and the entire press event, originally meant to highlight the ensemble, became focused on her absence. The story shifted from the film to the silence, and what was once hailed as a smart PR strategy began to look like pure sabotage. The core disagreement revolved around visibility. The publicist wanted to pivot quickly, arguing that the longer Zegler stayed silent, the harder it would be to regain public favor.
I don't want people to see me as ungrateful or anything like that. I was nervous that that's what this makes me look like.
The solution? A well-timed interview, a social post with just enough vulnerability, a strategically chosen photo op with an industry ally. Nothing flashy, just human. But her managers weren't having it. They believed silence was power. They wanted to ride it out like Beyoncé, one insider explained, but forgot that Rachel's not Beyoncé. By the time her publicist made their exit, it wasn't a surprise. It was a relief. At least that's how one insider described it. They were burned out and honestly embarrassed.
I don't want people to see me in a weakened state. I don't want people to see me as ungrateful or anything like that. I was nervous that that's what this makes me look like.
This wasn't just a case of a client refusing to cooperate. It was a client becoming a liability and a strategy turning into a punchline. The publicists didn't just leave, they distanced themselves hard. There was no loyalty post, no soft farewell, just a quiet severing of ties, as if they were scrubbing their own name from the wreckage. Multiple sources indicate that the final straw came when a major studio, one that had been quietly working with Zegler's team on an upcoming press rollout, flat out refused to move forward unless her image was rehabilitated. Not just improved, but rehabilitated. That's a term usually reserved for stars with criminal records, not messy Broadway feuds. The damage ran deep. When the publicist brought that message back to the team, there was silence. No new plan, no pivot, just more quiet. And here's the thing, this wasn't some junior flack fresh out of grad school. This was a seasoned PR handler who had worked with bigger names, sharper scandals, and tougher recoveries. They knew what needed to happen, but allegedly every suggestion was either overruled or ignored. It was like playing chess with people who were too busy arguing about the color of the board, said one source familiar with the dynamic. By the time they walked away, the writing was already on the wall. Zegler's social feeds had gone cold, invitations had stopped arriving, and press was circling like sharks. Still, there was no move from the team. That kind of paralysis isn't just a red flag. In the PR world, it's professional suicide. So the publicist exited quietly, strategically, and now Zegler is left alone in the very silence her team insisted would save her. But now it's not a strategy. It's the sound of everything falling apart. For the first time since her career began, Rachel Zegler is publicly unprotected. No publicist, no visible team handling her fallout, no friendly journalist feeding her soft questions in a puff piece comeback. Just silence and the full weight of her controversy resting squarely on her shoulders. With her PR strategy in ruins, she now faces something far more terrifying than backlash: vulnerability. This is the moment when most stars scramble. They post a carefully cropped selfie with a caption about healing, leak a source close to the star to page 6, or make a surprise podcast appearance to set the record straight. But so far, Zegler has done none of that. She's been off the radar for weeks, with zero public-facing response to her publicist's reported exit. This raises questions not just about her image, but about her grip on the situation as a whole. One executive from a top production company bluntly stated, "She's not acting like someone ready to fix this. She's acting like someone in over her head." This isn't just a PR collapse, it's a shift in momentum. A fall from grace, marked not by one explosive mistake, but by a dozen slow, avoidable missteps. Each one chips away at the trust, the goodwill, the mythos. She was supposed to be untouchable. Now she's unrepresented, unspoken for, and increasingly unwelcome. The publicist walking out is more than just a logistical inconvenience. It's a symbol. It signifies that the people who were paid to believe in her couldn't anymore, and if they can't, who will? But here's the thing, Hollywood loves a comeback. It craves it. If Rachel finds her voice, if she takes control of her narrative, if she shows up raw and real instead of curated and polished, there might still be a path back. But that window is shrinking. Every day she remains silent, the story hardens, and the longer the silence stretches, the more final it starts to feel. So we ask you, is Rachel Zegler being unfairly dragged, or is this the fallout of ignoring the very system that built her? After losing her voice, her visibility, and now her publicist, does she even want to come back? Hit like, subscribe, and drop your take in the comments because the next video on your screen is waiting. And trust me, you won't believe what's coming next.